What's up, guys? Back again for another video. It's me, Sean. It's week number 6 of actually trading a strategy, and I don't really have too much to actually talk about this week. It was kind of uneventful, a little bit slow. I had 2 trades this week, one winner, one loser. We're still trying to kind of see if the changes I made really are improving the strategy or not. Like I said, one winner, one loser. But unfortunately, I didn't make quite 1R on my winner. I made like 0.75, and then I lost 1R on my loser. So I ended up losing 0.25% this week, which in my book is pretty much break even. I mean, it's really a very small loss. So we're pretty much exactly where we were at last week. I mean, as far as the strike rate goes, since I made the changes, the strike rate is still pretty good. 3 winners, 1 loser, as opposed to before we were 1 winner and 11 losers. So still all right there, but it's still obviously too soon to tell if anything's really made that much of a difference. So yeah, like I said, we took 1 trade in the Euro GBP. We took 1 trade in silver. The Euro GBP trade was actually like a beautiful trade. It's set up exactly the way I wanted. And I took the trade and got in with pretty much very little drawdown. However, the silver trade, I took it according to my plans, but there are some warning signs, and that's just something I still need to work on as far as just like mindset things. Is my main weakness is with FOMO, or fear of missing out. I think I may have mentioned this before, but like for me personally, like the fear of missing out is just sometimes the feeling can just be overwhelming. Like the opportunity to make money, opportunity to make money. A lot of times this feeling just overwhelms me, and it's hard to not to just pass on a trade that I had planned out, especially a trade that I planned out and I had been sitting and waiting for days. You know what I mean? And it finally gets there, and it's not quite right, maybe, or whatever, and but I don't want to miss it, or it's not quite right. I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna avoid it. But then as soon as it starts moving a little bit in the direction I anticipated, the feeling's like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm gonna miss this trade I've been waiting for 3 days. It's just like such a hard thing for me to overcome personally, and I'm still working through that every single time that I trade. But there were definitely some warning signs on the silver, which I'll show you guys on the chart, which may have been able to prevent me from taking that loss. It's just something that I need to continue to work on. But yeah, on the positive side, my goal for this week was to really just cleanly execute my plan. I had been like, kind of having some problems before executing like my plan cleanly, making little execution mistakes, or maybe not following the plan exactly, or getting in late or whatever. And I was really happy this week that I was able to hit my goal of executing my plan pretty much perfectly. Even though the silver trade was a loss, it was still a planned trade, and I did execute it exactly as I had written it down. So that was really good, and that just goes to my weekly goal from the trade business plan that we had talked about, which was minimizing my mistakes down to 1 or less, and no trades outside my plan, which I was able to accomplish. So I'm just going to continue to try and do that this week, and hopefully ultimately get to my goal of getting a greater than 50% strike rate after the quarter is over. That's my quarterly goal. So, I know it may not seem too crazy to get a strike rate over 50%, but for me, it's really huge. I've never gotten anything anywhere close to that. So, yeah. Anyway, so let me show you guys the trades, and so you guys can see exactly what I did this week. Again, not too much to talk about, but I'll show you guys the trades, the equity curve, and we'll go from there. All right, so like I said, we got 2 trades this week. The first trade was in the Euro GBP, and it looked like this at the time I was trying to take the trade. Basically, we had a daily bias. This is the daily chart. We had a daily bias here with this pin bar right off a huge daily level. You could see here it's pretty big. And then it also faked out this low. So it's kind of what Tom calls a crossbar, which is basically 2 daily biases in one. So we had like this SFP daily bias, and then we had the pin bar, the bullish pin bar off this big level here. So I was expecting to move back up right to the retest the head of this hammer here. And if you drop down to the H4 chart, that was, okay, hold on. Okay, so we were right here when it happened. So on the H4 chart, you see it did the same kind of thing. It faked out the low, put in this pin bar. So as soon as I saw that, I was just waiting for a break and close above this pin bar and a retest of it to get long. And it didn't break. And then it ended up breaking here, right here, closed above all these highs. So I just got in on a retest and put my stop down here. And I was targeting a little bit higher than what I should have. I should have been targeting right around here, but I was targeting the low of the old pin bar. But in reality, when you look at it, you could have refined that down to these lows here. So I got in, and it just kind of instantly started moving in my favor. And then I got this bar, which was reacting to the lows here. And once this happened, it was backing off a little bit here. I just decided to close it. The evolving R was not good. You can see I was at that point I was trying to make like 9 pips, and I had moved my stop up, but I was still risking about 65 pips. So once it started backing off and it was reacting to this here, I just decided to just cut the trade and just take my gain. Obviously, as soon as I did that, it just ripped up, but it's neither here nor there. That was the Euro GBP trade, and that took a little less than 1 hour on that, unfortunately, but still a good trade. And then the silver trade. Okay, so on the silver trade, this is the trade I said that there were a couple of warning signs. I'll break it down now, but basically what happened, it was right here when I was looking at it, and basically you have this big daily level here. You see is support turned into resistance. It broke out. And as it was coming back in, I was looking to rebuy the support in anticipation of a move back to this high. So when we drop down to the H4 time frame again, oh gosh, I did that thing again. All right, so when we drop down to the H4 time frame, you can see it came down into that last high pre-breakout and put in a pin bar. Didn't get the close above, but then we put in this second pin bar here, and this time we did get a close above during the London session. And I was like, okay, it's time to go on a retest. And so I got in long here. Now, some of the warning signs with this, 2 things. One of the main things being that we had this trouble area here, right? You can see the support that was created just before it kind of made its way back around. And granted, it did kind of break above the support, but not cleanly. Like if you want to draw a line at the support right here, yeah, technically it broke it. But like if you draw it as a zone, it never really convincingly broke up through there. So it's really just, I'm just buying right into an FTA. If I wanted to do this in a safer way, I could have waited for the break of this pin bar, right? The impulse move above this pin bar, and that would have been cleanly above this the support turning into resistance now. But instead, I just decided to get in after this impulse leg here, and obviously you can see it just reacted and reacted and reacted. Another thing, at the same time that this was happening, if you look on the gold chart, gold was here. So gold had already made this big move down, and it was just retracing back, right? So it was at this point, it pretty much, I mean, you had this big move down, stalled, another big move down, and now it's making its way back around, and it's reacting at this resistance level here. It was reacting literally at the same time that I was in the silver trade, and gold, it wasn't just reacting, it was already starting to break down. So it was like right around here when I took the silver trade long. And gold and silver tend to move in tandem. So I was fighting the gold. We had this FTA here. And then another thing I've noticed is that when you get this breakout here, if it's on a different week than the week that you're taking the trade, a lot of the times you have to be careful. Or what I've noticed is that the momentum tends to shift. You know what I mean? So like let's say last week was bullish, and this week the momentum's kind of like it's almost like it's a clean slate. So you really want to, or for me, anyways, I've noticed that I want to kind of wait for a little bit more of a safer play before I get involved, just because a lot of times when it makes this rounded retest on a week that it didn't break out, you'll get something like that where it just kind of goes through, and you can even see that happen this week on, for example, like USD JPY, for example. This is last week. It broke out of this huge level. If you zoom out, you can see this huge level here. It broke out, and typically you'd go for the rounded retest and go long there. But again, that was last week. Then this week comes, and all of a sudden, it makes a little bounce, puts in that pin bar, and then just absolutely tanks. So, I've seen this so many times from, going from week to week. So, with all those things being in mind, it wasn't like the most ideal, perfect trade and could have been avoided. Unfortunately, I did not avoid it. And that's definitely something I'm going to be working on moving forward. One of the main things I told myself to improve this trade, first of all, it didn't even have a daily bias. So it was just kind of like a levels trade. And what I said moving forward with all levels trades, with no daily bias or no weekly bias, I have to be extremely cautious and make sure that there's absolutely no objections. So that's my one thing I'm working on this week. If it's got a daily bias or a weekly bias, I can be a little bit more aggressive. But with these trades with no daily or weekly bias, I really need to be careful and just make sure there's absolutely nothing that I see that could go wrong with this trade. So that was a silver, and that was my trading week. So like I said, one winner, one loser, not too big of a deal. And we'll see how it goes this week. All right, so just to keep everything consistent, here's an updated shot of the curve. Nothing to write home about. It's pretty much the same spot as last week. I still have this 13 circle because that's where we made the changes. So we're going to see moving forward how the curve differs once we made the change. But anyways, so we'll see what happens this week. Hopefully we get a continuation up. But yeah, that's where we're at for now. All right, just wanted to say thank you guys for watching my videos. Hope you guys keep coming back. I've been getting a lot of good feedback, and I really appreciate it. So just send a like, send a comment, say what's up, whatever. I'm always around. Yeah, thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.